So we are live now, guys. If anyone wants to tweet or Instagram or Facebook something, a link, feel free to go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us once again. My name is Seth. Joining me tonight, we have Jacob, we have Earl, and our special guest tonight, Andrew Gunn. Before we get into the show proper, just real quick, we do appreciate you guys stopping by each and every week and being part of the show with us. As you know, if you do join us here live on YouTube, any questions, comments you throw in the chat, we'll do our best to get to all of those, and we will get you guys as part into the show itself. And so appreciate each and every one of you. And of course, you can follow us on social medias all around, Somos, Moss, NM. And of course, we'll get to all of that here again towards the end of the show. But we are back, and we appreciate each and every one of you. We have had some folks subscribing to the channel lately. Tyler Ortega, Harry, I was subscribed the other day, so thank you, Harry. Someone's wife, we still don't know who that is. So we'll figure out who someone's wife is at some point. But appreciate you guys so much for the continued support of everything that we are doing here on the show and on the podcast. So without any further ado, we've got a lot to get to, so we're going to get right into our show this week. We're calling this one episode number 41, Seeing Red. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Moss. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on YouTube as we do each and every week. Joining me this week, as you can see on the screen, we have Jacob Terrell, Earl Nieto, and our special guest this week, former writer for the Daily Lobo, former writer for the Albuquerque Journal, currently an independent journalist, Andrew Gunn. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us tonight. First of all, how are you doing this evening, and how are you coping with the outcome of the match from Saturday night?
First things first, Seth. I'm doing okay. Just kind of getting through the tail end of the pandemic. You know what I mean? So it feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So that's kind of cool. Reactions to the match, though, the less cool. This is the first time I've actually been in the stands in like a vantage point where I could actually see, because I used to sit in the press box, which is behind home plate, which is kind of not the best thing for like when like Suggs is down in the corner trying to waste time like 500 yards away or whatever. But I was in a good spot, and I could see pretty much the whole field from what traditionalists or purists might call a good angle. And I saw a lot of bad things. I didn't see. Well, can we just get it out of the way first?
Yeah.
There was something that happened in the 25th minute or so. The red card that was not. I called it on Twitter the other day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had the
Yeah.
same reaction that you did, and I know that you had a little bit of an interaction with Nicholas Murray from the USL Championship website today, and I mean, he didn't really seem to want to acknowledge the fact that there was a red card.
It's interesting that I like to keep up to date on like what's happening around the league, even though I'm not writing for the Journal anymore, which was a great time. And I might end up getting picked up by another publication soon, but that's yet to be determined. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, Nick Burry, he's a good guy, but I like to read all of his stuff, and sometimes I see things that make me think he didn't really watch the game at all. He just watched the highlight reel.
Yeah.
And in his match recap, he missed the red card entirely. Which was the pivotal point of the match, in my opinion. They kicked it up into another gear with whatever Troy said at halftime, which was good to see. But to miss such a pivotal moment in your recap that ostensibly would tell people who didn't get to watch the match what happened was kind of an oversight. I did have a little chat with him. He DM'd me on Twitter later and said he worked for the league and he couldn't, he'd get in hot water with his colleagues if he had, criticized the ref, but he still could have mentioned the red card at least once.
Yeah, I read the 5 talking points for the Western Conference.
Right.
And he had New Mexico. It was like New Mexico sucked. It basically was what the gist of it that I got. And it had Troy's quote about we weren't good enough in the first 25 minutes and everything. But then it doesn't mention the red card. It doesn't mention the offside call that wasn't. It doesn't mention the handball that wasn't called. It doesn't mention the fact that we like kicked their ass in the second half. It was just, yeah, they gave up a goal. They played bad in the first 20 minutes, which I don't even think we played bad in the first 20 minutes. It just, we didn't score yet. And so it was just like, I read it and was just furious.
Yeah. And that's the sort of thing too that, like, USLchampionship.com is not going to print something that criticizes match officials. But the thing that was a little shocking to me is they didn't mention it at all. And that's kind of what I had a little bit of beef with was, did you not watch the game? Did you not, and Nicholas does, I think, pretty much every single recap. So he probably doesn't have time to watch every single game. Do you know what I mean? He's got the goals, he's got the shots on goal. He's got, near misses, shots over the goal, vicious tackles or something like that. So I'm not sure what his process is, but it was disheartening to see. But it's the league's website. You're going to get the same, to a lesser degree, you're going to get the same sort of thing on MLS Soccer.
Yeah.
Any of their social media platforms or anything like that.
But what I didn't understand was in the article, it's 5 talking points in the West. So it's about the whole Western Conference. Why pick us for that if you can't write about what really happened? Why not talk about Phoenix and Sacramento, or which I think might have been in there? I don't remember what the other 4 were, but surely there was another option in there other than flat out lying about what happened in our match. So that's what I like. The recap I understand, but to go out of his way to pick that match for one of his 5 talking points, I didn't that's what I had a problem with.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks will agree with the points that you have both made here. Before we get too far into our match discussion, we do have a little bit of a serious topic that we do want to discuss. We know that there were allegations made towards some members of the supporters of the fans on Saturday night, saying that racial slurs were being used and directed at the Loudoun United FC players. There was one person in particular who chimed in on Twitter to give their perspective and what happened. That person did state that stadium officials were notified, but the person was allowed to stay in the stadium. And so I reached out to David Carl, and I asked him regarding protocols and things like that for the club and how they're handling it. And for anyone who's new to the club or new to our situation here in New Mexico, United does play at the Lab, Isotopes Park, which is home to the Albuquerque Isotopes. And their arrangement is that New Mexico United rents the stadium out from the baseball team, and all staffing, all security, those are Isotopes employees. And the club, United, has no input or say on the training of these individuals or how these situations are being handled. The club is looking at better ways to handle protocols and improve the process, improve what happens when this does occur in the stadium. Hopefully it won't, but the club is 100% taking this seriously. They are investigating. They are open to coordinating and working with the league to ensure that this is rectified. And the club has a zero tolerance policy for racist or homophobic language, and have said that the individuals that are a part of this will be banned for life from the stadium. And same goes for anyone throwing beverages, food, things like that, because we saw it from the press box. Someone attempted to throw something towards the referees, and it hit someone else in the back of the head, I believe. Again, another behavior that is unacceptable from the club's perspective and will result in a ban. And so, we have been fairly silent when it comes to things like this from around the league. And, I wrote something up earlier, and I feel it's appropriate that we say this here now. We've had time to digest and look at it and reach out to the club. We've also reached out to the Albuquerque Isotopes to get their perspective on things. And as of the time of recording, they have not gotten back to us. So I do want to make sure that is out there. We did reach out to the Isotopes front office and ask them some questions regarding the training of security and staffing and how they were going to handle this going forward. But so just to share with everyone, we here at Somos Moss, of course, would like to address the incident that occurred Saturday night at the match with Loudoun United. As everyone knows at this point, allegations have been made that racial slurs were directed at players from Loudoun United. Prior to learning of these allegations from the club, our own staff members were also targeted with vulgar language and hand gestures simply for being in the same area as the Loudoun players. There have also been allegations made that items were thrown in the direction of referees from the match. That, of course, has already been confirmed by the club. I can tell you with my own eyes, I saw it happen. And as of right now, the club has acknowledged all of the allegations and is committed to finding the people involved and banning them. We Somos Mas stand with the club and the curse in their efforts to root out these types of behaviors. Hatred in any form is unacceptable. Racism, homophobia, and violence have no place in our game and in our culture. It is up to us as humans to stop this from happening. It is up to us to root out the problems and prevent it from happening again. If you see something or hear something, speak up. Reach out to the club, reach out to stadium personnel, reach out to security. That's what you can do as an individual. We will not tolerate any of these behaviors as well within our own community. Here, anyone that here joins us here on Twitch, YouTube, whatever the case may be, interacts with us on Twitter. We will not tolerate these behaviors within our community as well, and anyone found to be using these will be removed from our community. We will ban you from the channel here. This is unacceptable. Across social media, comments have been made by supporters of other clubs calling United supporters racists. The actions of the few folks that participated in this on Saturday night is not representative of our fan base as a whole. These broad generalizations by our own fan base, by other fan bases, has to stop. It doesn't serve anyone any good to make those sorts of accusations towards an entire fan base. In our experience, the fans and the supporters that we have met and the people that we have met through this club are by and large some of the most gracious and incredible people that we have ever met. The sport that we love is called the beautiful game for a reason. It's 2 hours of our lives where we can come together from different people from all walks of life can come together and support a united cause. In this case, our club or even another club. This sport, a global sport, is about inclusion and coming together, not tearing each other down. So I felt it was appropriate to say something at this point, especially now that these allegations have come from our own fan base. And it's not that we haven't supported the actions of the clubs and the leagues from around the league and around the world to root out people that are doing this. But as you guys know, we try to largely stay apolitical. We try to keep this focused on the sports that we love and the club that we love. And we don't want to be mired into this. So before we do move on, I do feel that I've got a couple questions to ask. Andrew, from where you were at, did you experience anything? Did you see anything? Did you notice anything? And what's your take on how the club has been handling this so far?
So I was at the match. I didn't see or hear anything. I was over on I guess for the baseball configuration, the third base side, kind of the higher levels. And I missed the last about 5 minutes of the match or so because I was actually on the grounds crew that day volunteering. So tore down the field. That was pretty cool. But no, I didn't hear or see anything. I think the reaction was, first of all, it was fast, right? It was, from my understanding, David Carl was made aware of those allegations from Loudoun, I think Sunday morning. And I think by noon, he had put out a press release. I'm sure he spent some time trying to gather facts and talking to the players and all sorts of things like that. So I think it was an appropriate response. It was a fast response. It's also not enough of a response, in my opinion. And we saw the same thing happen with Loudoun, I think either last week or 2 weeks ago when they're playing a home match. There was some racial abuse. And I've been reading some stories about how, it's much worse in, England in the Premier League, for example, with Raheem Sterling and I can't think of any other names off the top of my head right now. a little late, but I read something that said, you know, in America, it's not as much of a problem as in other countries. And I kind of paused at that, and I thought to myself, is it really like not as bad, or is it just not on TV where people can see it? Where is there, you know, do we have 80,000 fans packing Wembley, you know, every Sunday night? No, we don't. So, and it's been a problem, and you know, this is nothing new, and you know, it's kind of ironic that we're talking about this at the start of Pride Month, with you know, what we're trying to combat in the sport is you know, sexist and racist and homophobic and xenophobic attacks like that. So what more can the league do? I don't have concrete answers right now. You know, they can put out all the statements that they want, and I think the team did really well in you know, getting that statement out really quickly. And you know, the curse got behind it and amplified that immediately, and you know, put out a call to say, you know, if you saw something, if you heard something, come tell us. So that was heartening to see. um, but yeah, going forward, that's a tricky problem to solve, you know, especially the more, probably the more difficult things to sort of correct in the world of soccer is social media abuse. And luckily, we haven't seen much of that here in New Mexico, if any at all. I haven't seen any.
So Jacob and Earl, you guys were on the pitch Saturday night, and you guys both mentioned to me that you guys were subjected to some pretty foul language and some hand gestures and things. And you guys, I mean, you were down there wearing the bibs that you're told to wear for being on the field. And I mean, what? So I mean, let's start with Earl. We haven't heard much from Earl yet tonight. Earl, you know, from your perspective, like, was this just like one or two people who were maybe just a little bit rowdy, a little bit drunk, or was it um, something more than that?
So the the group that me, Jacob, and Sombrero Man had to deal with, I think it was just a lot of alcohol. I'm hoping at least. I mean, I could definitely be wrong. Jacob, if you feel different, by all means, let me know. I'm pretty sure it was just too many 50-cent beers that night, and they just kept hammering them down. And because we looked like a ref or anyone from an opposing team that was not wearing a bright turquoise color, we were subjected to it. I mean, it it was kind of disheartening because we even showed that we were wearing United gear. We showed that we were United fans. The lady was still pissed off about it. I think it was a combination of, like I said, too much alcohol and pent up frustration. I mean, you watched at least 80 minutes, 90 minutes of a team struggling to catch their breath and still come out as the winner.
Yeah, basically what Earl said. It was to me. It wasn't even a group. It was one lady who was standing in the aisle. So I think she like actually made her way down to be closer to the field. Is the sense that I got, anyways. And she was just drunk and angry, which I imagine she wasn't the only one that was angry or drunk. But as far as what the club is addressing, I didn't hear anything racial. I didn't hear anything homophobic. I didn't see anything thrown. I know that that was proven, though. I know you guys saw it, and I talked to other people that said it happened. But and I'm not saying none of it happened. I just don't know. We don't know details. We Until we do, I don't know what else you can do other than put out the statements. Like I somewhat agree with Andrew that it doesn't seem like it's enough, but until we know who it was, like concrete proof on who it was, I don't know what is the next action to take. Go back to not having fans in the stands. So I don't want that, and I don't want, you know, a handful of people to ruin it for the other 8,000. So it's kind of a thing where you're just damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because it seems to me like, especially in social media world, if you put out a statement, everybody rolls their eyes at it. But if you do nothing, everybody cries out on social media that you didn't do anything. So it's, you know, until somebody actually gets caught and gets thrown out or banned for life, which is what'll happen when they get caught. It's we're just kind of stuck in this mess, and you've seen it in the NBA in these playoffs lately. Water bottle being thrown at Kyrie, popcorn being dumped on Westbrook. I can't think of anything being said in the NBA, racist or not.
Someone was spit on.
Yeah, Trey
Trey
Young.
Young, yeah.
Yeah, Trey Young was spit on. Kyrie mentions racism quite a bit when he goes back to Boston, and Boston has a history of racist comments in sports, not just basketball, but other ones as well. So it's something that needs to be fought, but it feels like sometimes it's an impossible thing to fight, and it discourages me a lot. So I think the club handled it good. I think as best they could, anyways, without having proof. What does bother me is that if security was told or security did witness it, if security did not do anything, then that's something that is something that we can fix right away. You know, there's logical steps to be taken right there to get it to where that doesn't happen again. But it's impossible to stop it completely. You just have to try to deter it as best you can. And if you're going to be caught throwing something out there that you're not supposed to throw out there, and then get told, hey, don't do it, but then do it again and nothing happens, it's not going to stop anybody. So I think that's the first step in what we have learned since the match, is that security needs to be addressed and something needs to be done about it, which is kind of weird because I know some of the security guards. I mean, there's a guy named Pat that's down there on field level that he's been a security guard there for basically the whole Isotopes existence, as far as I know. I remember him seeing there. I remember him seeing there years ago, and he's like a no nonsense dude, man. If you do something you're not supposed to, he'll take you out back, or at least that's the vibe I get from him as far as taking you out back. I know he'll kick you out. So to hear something like this and to hear that security was called and nothing happened, it's a bummer, and that needs to be addressed. But as far as finding out who did it and whatnot, I think the club handled that as best they could.
I think that's where some of the difficulty comes
Something else
in.
on that topic as well.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, what's up, Andrew?
Yeah, just really quickly, it was, another thing that was simultaneously disheartening, but also good to see on the question of what the club is trying to do to even be proactive in they're not putting their head in the sand, not addressing that there's been instances league wide and in MLS and around the world. This was the first match that I went to where about 15 minutes before the match started, Ty Ortega comes on the big video board, with like this 2-minute long talk. And, if we hear some racial slurs coming from your part of the stands, you're not going to be back at Isotopes for the rest of your life, So I didn't see any of that last season. So I thought that was good to see, but to wake up on Sunday morning to see that really didn't have the desired effect was the disheartening part.
Yeah, that was something that I noticed after the first match, or at the first match. And this match, I think they added it in Spanish. I don't remember the Spanish version of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember the
It was in
Spanish
Spanish
version.
as well.
Yeah, I don't remember the Spanish version during the first game, but I definitely saw it after this one. And that's another thing that you just look at it and you go, the clubs are, at least United anyways, is doing what they can. Like, they can't have a bodyguard for every person that monitors them. They can't be everybody's parents. Like, it sucks, but I don't know what else they could do. So hopefully they figure out who it was that person's dealt with. I hope that they come out and say, hey, we found out who it was. That person's banned for life. Don't do it again, or otherwise we'll find you and we'll kick you out. Because if they just do it kind of nonchalantly and don't say anything but ban the guy, it's not going to set an example. So I'm not necessarily saying throw his name out there and let us go harass him on Twitter like people did the ref, but definitely saying, let us know that you did that, even if it's a lie, to be completely honest with you. Even if they were just like, yeah, we found him, we banned him for life, don't do it again. Just so people are like, oh, they actually mean it. We better watch what we say. Of course, the problem with that is, those people might not have said anything except for the fact that they got drunk and then we watched like the worst refereed game I've ever seen in my life. Once people get emotional and have alcohol, anything's out the window. So it's just a situation that's almost impossible to fully get rid of. I just hope that people as individuals have to do better and just watch their mouth and watch their actions.
That's the difficult part of all this, is finding who did it and proving it. And we've seen that with the Austin Real match a couple weeks ago. We saw it with the Loudon match. The league came out and said in the Austin incident that they didn't have sufficient evidence to proceed with that. With Loudon, they said yes, it happened, but we don't know who it was. And I heard someone mentioned to me, well, Loudon only had like 100 people in the stands. How could they not figure it out? I mean, we've got 9,000 people in the stands, so it's got to be that much harder to figure out exactly who did it. But in the instance that we've seen from what was on Twitter, it was reported that this particular person or persons were reported multiple times, but were allowed to stay. And that's where the problem is. And again, it's the club's going to have to work with the isotopes. Individuals are going to have to work with it. And then the isotopes are going to have to train the security and staff on how to handle this better. And I mean, like you said, unfortunately, we can't excuse it, drunk or not. Like, you can't. I have a hard time excusing it because you still have to maintain some level of decency while you're out in public. And if you can't do that, then maybe you shouldn't be there. That's just my opinion. But
I don't.
So here's my issue about this. So say United never finds the person. I mean, picking a needle in a haystack is virtually impossible. How soon does that isotope staff get trained? I mean, it's not going to happen by the next game, which is literally 11 days from now. 12 days? I'm terrible at math. I mean, it's on the 12th. So does isotope staff get trained before June 12th? Probably not.
I don't think it has to be like a formal training. It just has to be like, hey, if you are told somebody said this, then I've seen it before where the usher will walk down and stand in the general vicinity of whoever said it and wait. And if it gets said again, then they get kicked out. Like, it's not rocket science. It's not hard.
I remember year one when that stupid Pluto minus the L word was being chanted a lot. There was 2 ushers that stood on each side of the supporter section, and they singled people out.
Yeah.
And they did boot them, but that was before the lifetime ban and before United was actually like punching back on this homophobia, that it finally caught fire. That might be what it needs to be, is they have ushers again pushing people out the door.
Well, that's why I don't understand why it wasn't done in the first place. It's not something that's new. Like, I've seen them do similar things where they stand there and wait and listen. So, and I just want to clarify one thing, that I wasn't excusing it because of the alcohol. It was just an explanation as to why I can see it happening.
Right.
When it's basically, you guys know me. I wouldn't say anything of any sorts at any time, but I know I've said stuff, not racial or homophobic, but I know I've said stuff that's hurt people when I get angry and have alcohol in me. Like, you say things that are a little more than what you even think sometimes. So, not an excuse whatsoever. Just throwing that out there.
No, I think that's understandable. So yeah, there you have it. I think we've covered that enough for tonight, and hopefully moving forward, this isn't a topic that we have to revisit. This is our call to all the supporters, everyone out there in the stands. Be on your best behavior. I mean, go out and have fun, have a couple of drinks, but don't be racist, don't be homophobic, xenophobic, any of that. Just go out and enjoy the match, cheer on United, and just be a good person. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So, and we've kind of beat around it a little bit, but before we jump into our recap, I do have one burning question for you guys, as we do each and every week. Do you know do you know, or could you appropriately award a red card in a soccer match?
No, but I am not paid to do so.
I mean, if I'm paid to do so, I just might be able to. I do know what is a penalty and what's not, like punching someone in the mouth, even if it's Logan Kitterer, in the box is a definite red card. And that is something that I do wish to do, and I would gladly accept that red card.
I know that a handball in the box as the last defender to stop a goal is a red card. And we saw that happen, and it didn't get a red card. So I've screamed on this podcast and to you guys before that being a referee is not an easy job. And I've also screamed and wrote about and everything else how I don't understand how there's only one referee for a freaking soccer pitch that's actually out there in the middle of it, because it's impossible to see everything. And so I look at this match and I want to punch Chris Ruska in the face, but I also, if you have somebody behind the goal, they're going to see that red card, because I can see how he might have thought Austin Yearwood touched or tripped him up. And I could see how he missed the handball on that same end in the second half. Because especially the handball, there's 22 bodies in front of the goal essentially, and he's outside of the penalty area. Like, I understand that there probably is a body in the way and you can't tell what it hit. So why not have somebody that's in a better position to do so? I just don't understand it. And I mentioned it on Facebook earlier, and somebody said, well, it's the way it's always been done. And that's crap. Like, I don't, that's not a reason for it. Like, we're growing as a human being species here. Like, why can't we get this a little bit better here? And so the whole situation is just like, you can't talk about this match without talking about what has happened, unless your name is Nicholas Murray and you work for USL.
So to kind of touch on you punching Chris Ruska or whatever, I'm gonna take that back on behalf of
You never
Jacob.
said that. I never said that. I never said that.
Whatever.
Did I say that? Bleep that out.
Yes.
Bleep that out.
Either way, he will not be doing that. Instead, we will be putting his number on Craigslist for free Dalmatian puppies.
I don't know how you got privy to his number, but that's
Don't worry about it.
We already got suspended from Twitter.
Somehow
well, not we, but everybody did, basically.
This isn't the dark web
He,
podcast.
he somehow
You
became a
obviously
friend on
haven't-
Facebook.
You obviously haven't listened before, have you, Andrew? Because that is not the first time the dark web has got brought up. In fact, I'm relatively sure it was brought up last week.
Ah, damn! And here I thought I was being clever. All right, I'll have to go back and listen to the archives. So
Yeah, so what's not new on this place is fuck Phoenix, El Paso sucks, and the dark web.
Yeah, that's going to be an every episode thing now, isn't it?
Probably.
trifecta. I'll agree on the fuck Phoenix part, just as like an entire entity.
Fair.
If like
There you go.
Phoenix in and of itself, plus their soccer team, gross.
Yeah.
Gross. We like that Santi though. He's okay. All right. Do I
Sometimes.
get to answer the question?
Yes, you do.
Can
Yes,
I-
you do.
All
Yeah.
right. Could I appropriately award a red card? As a center ref, probably not. But I will say it was extremely gratifying I was in Louisville, Kentucky about a week ago, and I saw Louisville, San Diego. It's a gorgeous stadium, by the way. I was trying to picture it in my head, like where could we like pick this up and drop it into Albuquerque? Like where do we have enough land to have such a cool spot? But it was very gratifying indeed to see Landon Donovan get sent off with a red in like the 85th minute for dissent. It was amazing. I never thought I would see that in all my days. Landon Donovan gets a red as a coach in Kentucky. And like a stone's throw from Indiana, like strange place, strange times. Could I give out a ref or a ref? Could I give out a red as a VAR official with the rule book sitting in my lap? Probably.
I like how that's still not a yes. It's a probably still.
Well,
It's-
have I, memorized, every line in the FIFA official, book of God laws or whatever it's called? No, I haven't. But if I have it in front of me, yeah, I could probably do that. Okay.
So what
It
many
might
folks
take, it might take a while, but yeah.
So what many
That's
folks
me-
may not know is
Right.
that PRO, the Professional Referee Organization, is the one who actually does all the referee assignments for I believe NWSL, USL, and MLS. And they do a video segment on their YouTube every week where they look at some of the calls and decisions that were made. Any chance that this one pops up on there this week?
I don't know, but I'm gonna
God,
need links.
hope so.
I'd be shocked to see a worse call, and it'd be a lot of fun actually. I think to like if they don't try to rescind it or anything like do they do that? I think they do that very rarely. They were like, okay, we made a mistake, but it would be really interesting to see them try and rationalize, giving a red first of all that early in the match, and the referee was like 40 yards behind, Yearwood and the other guy, whoever it was, I can't remember his name.
I don't
But
I don't
it would
know
be
if they'll
very
rationalize.
interesting.
I don't know if they'll rationalize it or not, but if they do, this is what they're gonna say. The video does not clearly show if he touched his foot or not.
It's not
Because-
clear and obvious,
Because
right?
I've watched it, and every like fifth time I've watched it, I've said maybe he clips his foot, and then I watched it again and I go, oh no, he did not. He was nowhere near him. So if they do, because I'm pretty sure that United has formally appealed it,
Yes.
and so if they uphold it and it's going to stay, it's going to be because it's going to be because they say you cannot tell for sure that he did not touch his foot. But even to me, even if he touches his foot, it's incidental, and I don't know how it's a red. But that goes to Andrew's point about me not memorizing any rules here. And maybe incidental contact when you're the last defender from behind is a straight red no matter what. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see what comes of it. And so to me, that's not the most egregious call that he had. Like the offside call that the VAR or that the AR had on Illich's goal, I watched it 1,000 times, and I understand the angles are kind of everything when it comes to it, but to me, it's clear as day that he's on by like 2 steps, and I don't get how that one was called. And then the handball is just as bad too, because he clearly sticks his arm out. It clearly hits his arm. I understand that the center official might not have had an eye line to it, but somebody had to have seen something. I don't and had to have been like, hey, hold on. Let's talk about this. And nobody said it. It's just
Well, apparently everybody in the
you could go
park
on and
except
on
for
and
the
on.
referees saw it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I will say that me and Earl and Sombrero Man, where we were, because we were on the corner by where Cello was taking all the corner kicks, I couldn't tell. But I have talked to people that were behind the goal in some way, shape, or form, and they all said, yeah, it was clearly a handball. So once again, why don't we have an official back there? Just have an official in that vicinity.
Or how about a goal line cam? How about that?
Well, that's technology, and that's
Of course, that also means we
It's-
need VAR again. So
yeah. I don't know, man. It's with the USL camera angles. I do think that all 3 of those would be called back or would be reversed. The red card on Yearwood, the handball, and the offside call. If we had VAR, even with the camera angles that we have, all of them would be like, "Oh yeah, that's wrong. Oh yeah, that's wrong. Oh yeah, that's wrong too. Sorry." Here
Yeah.
you go. It's a 3-1 win, United. Sorry.
and,
Incidentally, that's the score I predicted.
Me too.
yeah, and that highlight you're
So
talking
I'm
about of the
okay with it.
handball, that the handball highlight just played behind us. If you're watching on YouTube, yeah, even on the USL's website or on the website, if you go to their YouTube channel, if you slow down the video, because YouTube has the option to do that. You can slow down the playback speed on the video. You can clearly see Bolivar stick out his left arm and the ball go off of it. And yeah, it's just this match was some of the worst officiating I've ever seen. And I put out a Twitter thread after the match. I even was able to slow it down enough, and I got a screen grab of the ball coming off of Bolivar's arm, and I have no professional video editing equipment, and you look at it, you look at the way the entire match was constructed and the way it played out. The referee basically had no control. He allowed Loudon to flop probably 37 times in the final, minute and a half or whatever
that's why
it
Coach
was.
got kicked out.
Yeah.
That's why Coach got his red card.
And now I get that Loudon is coming to literally a mile higher than their elevation is at home. And I get that, some of those players probably were dealing with cramps. But the amount of time they spent on the ground, like any one of those players, I remember Cody Mizell got yellow cards faster than any of them at any given time during the inaugural season. And so there's just a different level of consistency and refereeing in these matches. And this one here is absolutely horrendous. And USL and Pro have got to take a look at it.
So here's I'm gonna kind of touch on what Jacob just said on Coach getting his red card. It was bullshit because, and I'm not trying to draw fire or anything like that. It literally came like 2 minutes after he stopped talking. Coach was already down on his bent over pretty much, and then the center ref came over to the main ref came over to the center field and walked right over to Troy and handed him the red after talking to the ref. So that red card was just ridiculously stupid late. I do pray to every god that everyone here believes in that Phil gets the start just for his feistiness after Troy got sent off. He had to be pulled back by Brandon Morris and sent back to the bench because Phil was about to walk on the field and probably get himself a red card.
See, I think Troy getting a red card, I don't think it was that delayed. I think Troy kept barking to the fourth official because what started that sequence was we had possession. We were moving the ball around. Away from the play, a Loudon player just lays down on the field. You watch it. If you watch the replay, it's in the 82nd minute, I want to say, 82nd or 83rd. And you see him just like kind of jog, and then he just like slows down and gets down on a knee, and then he goes down to two knees, and then he just lays down like he's going to take a nap. And as the fourth official or as the official, you don't have to stop it. Unless it was an apparent head injury, which this obviously wasn't, you don't have to stop play. Loudon can just play with 10 men if the guy wants to take a nap. And he was like, no, we're going to stop it. So that's what Troy was pissed about. And I don't blame him because Ruska was doing that all night. Loudon would just take a nap and he would stop the play for no freaking reason when we were building momentum. And we still should have scored 2 goals if it wasn't for an offside call and a handball. Like, it's insane. So I don't have a problem with his red because you could see it if you rewatch the match. You can see him just yapping to the fourth official over and over and over again. And then the fourth official calls Ruska over and says, hey, get this guy out of here, basically. And the rest is history. And then we get the infamous shot of Lassane just booking it in a suit past the curse, and the curse just going crazy for him, which to me, that scene almost made the whole match worth it just because I thought it was hilarious
He
perfect.
actually motivated me to start running every morning after I get ready for work.
In your suit, just working out.
The difference is when I put my tie on, I now have to put my coat on, and I don't even know the distance. That's probably a good 100, 150 yards.
Probably.
So I'm gonna start doing that every morning in honor of Troy. I'm gonna run to the end of my road and back in my tie and my brown shoes.
There you go.
I like it. I like it.
So getting back to play on the pitch, we do know that the club has said they're going to appeal Austin's red card. I think we would all agree that there's a fairly good shot that that's going to be rescinded. Andrew, going over to
I
you,
don't agree, actually.
what did you see from the club in the first half? That you took away as either a positive or a negative?
There were, all we've said so far is that the first half was drab and boring and not full of exciting soccer. But I had the best seat in the house to watch Daniel Bruce run down the right wing and cut in centrally. He was terrific, and I will say full disclaimer that I am a Daniel Bruce homer, but only because he's the best English football player in the world. I don't know. I saw I spent half the match with my face in my phone because I live tweet the matches. That's what I've done since I covered them for the Lobo. So sometimes I have to go back and watch the replays or ask the director of comms. It used to be Jessica Campbell, Liz Davis. They were great. I would have to ask them, like, did you see that? What just happened? Because I'd be typing away furiously. But no, Bruce was great. He really grew into it, and he's not a big guy. He's like
No.
he's like a Messi sort of character. Obviously not as skilled or the best football player the world's ever seen. But he won his duels. I saw him go up. I think it was the first half, but if it was the second, I won't apologize for being wrong. But he won an aerial header with a guy that was like 6 inches, his superior in like vertical height, which was really impressive. So,
I know the exact play you're talking about because me and Earl were in the dugout for that, and we both looked at each other and we were like, "Dang, Brucey got up for that."
yeah, boys got ups. He's very well dressed. His sartorial sense is unparalleled. Love that guy, and he's just getting better. With every game that I watch. He didn't start the first season, did he? He signed for the second season.
He's been here since the inaugural season.
He's been with us all 3 years.
Oh man, I don't have my fact sheet in front of me. Yeah,
Brucey came in
he's my guy.
like mid-season, opening season.
Yeah, and he, besides that play with the header, he was just winning balls. He was, the fluid passes. He was keeping the ball, pretty much between his feet. So he was making good, diagonal runs through the center, back out wide. So from the first half, I thought that was a highlight for sure.
I thought everybody.
Tembakis, you can't save that. So he did all that he was asked to do. You lose 0-1 or 1-0, whatever you want to call it. Bad luck. Get him next time. Tembakis was good as well.
I thought everybody played extremely well for basically the whole match, aside from the play that got Austin the red card. They kind of fell asleep on that one, which put Austin in that position. And then on the goal, Hamilton and Ryden sank too far back and left Bolivar with a little too much space up there. But then all credit to Bolivar. He put it in the only place that he could to score. And that there was nothing that anybody could do to stop that after he took the shot. I just feel like they could have been up on him a little bit more to prevent him from being able to take that shot and giving him the time and space to do it. But I think I'm going to rewatch it eventually after I just build up the nerve to do it without wanting to break my phone. And I think what I fully expect to see is a team that played really well after the first 20 minutes and like really, really well, like probably deserved a 3-1 win, 4-0 win if it wasn't for that red card with the way they played. But then again, if it wasn't for the red card, they might not have played that way in the second half because they probably would have already been in the lead then. So it's hard to say, but I was impressed with everything in Electric Turquoise aside from 2 plays. And unfortunately, those two plays had the biggest impact on the game.
I was also impressed with the electric turquoise itself.
Yeah, that really popped, man. That was me and Earl commented on it when they came out in their warm-up shirts and just the turquoise shorts. That just the shorts popped. Speaking of shorts, me and Earl noticed something that was very strange after the match when the players were going around hugging, giving high fives, clapping to the crowd. Earl very astutely noticed that Schmitty was wearing Tush's shorts. They had the number 16 on them, and I don't know why. I don't know when it happened. I don't know if he wore them the whole match like that. I didn't catch it, but it was very strange, and it's been bothering me ever since. If we're being completely honest, I just don't. I want to know how it happened.
Yeah, like I almost want to drive out to Ex Novo and ask him what happened.
Yeah, we should have just asked him right then. We had an opportunity, but he was talking to family members of other players, and we decided to leave him alone. But it was very strange.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I was watching it from the box, and I looked at the first half, and while I don't necessarily think that we played poorly, we definitely didn't hold a lot of early possession. We didn't see a lot of attacking options early on. Now, after the red card, it did get better, but
Which is funny.
yeah, I can't I can't disagree with what Troy said in the post game presser. Like we did not play well for the first 20 25 minutes, or we did not play at the pace that we're used to. And I think if we had, it would have been a different outcome. And Loudon looked pretty good for that first 20 25 minutes or so. And Al Mustafa, we talked about him last week, and we talked about him with Adam Davis. He's got a ton of pace, and I thought that was going to be trouble for us, and we saw it several times. Al Mustafa was able to get in behind and make those runs, and put Loudon in position to get some early chances. And
Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, that's been the identity of the team since their inception, right? Is to get out on the front foot. So we did kind of miss that last Saturday. That's I used to write in the journal that it was a quintessential New Mexico match when like Phoenix would come and we'd go up like 3-1, and then the final score would be 3-3. Like that is the New Mexico experience that we've been used to. So this was very out of character. And but again, without that red card, it's a completely different match because they only grew into it and down a man with 10 men.
yeah, we've talked about it on the podcast before. It's when a club goes down to 10 men, that's often when they're at their most dangerous. And United were basically playing like a team possessed, especially after in the second half, with whatever Troy said. Like they came out and we saw chance after chance, and we saw probably close to a dozen corners or so, dozen opportunities or crosses, in that dangerous area, to where United had opportunities, we just couldn't find it. And then of course, we know the handball there at the end, and I think 10 minutes is the longest I've ever seen in terms of stoppage time. I saw an Everton match last year that was, I think, 7 or 8, but 10 minutes is absolutely crazy.
I was pleased to see the decade of minutes, because and I expected it. I fully expected it. If we had saw like 5 or 6, I would have been, I was already, furious at the ref, and I'm not even really a fan of New Mexico United. I'm just a writer. I like going to the matches. I like Daniel Bruce. I like the electric kits. But I'm not like I don't live and die and bleed black and yellow, you know what I mean? So like I would have been more furious than I think I've ever been at any referee if it hadn't been 10 minutes of stoppage, because anything else would have been a disgrace. It would have been, they have a hard job, I understand, but there were a lot of people taking a siesta on that field in the second half. So
Yeah, I agree. The 10 minutes was. We were sitting in the corner over there talking about it before they announced it, and at one point I said 6, and then like 5 minutes later, they had been down for half of that, and I said, okay, well now it's got to be 8. And then 5 minutes later, they were down again for 2 more minutes, and I said, okay, and if it's not 10, then something's up. And sure enough, it was 10. But real quick, I just want to highlight Josh Suggs's play because we were in the corner where he was attacking in the second half, and I was scared. And I was behind the advertising boards. Like, it was insane to me how dangerous he looked. And that play that Illich scored on was just freaking nasty by Suggs. One touch nutmeg, gets around him, puts in a beautiful cross that Illich finishes. And that was like the third nutmeg of the night from Suggs. He was just destroying people left and right. And I can't believe that we didn't score and he didn't have an assist. Like, that just baffles. And technically it did happen, but he was insane and fully deserved to be man of the match. Even with what Tambakis did and what Kalen Ryden did, playing 2 positions basically, where he's center back for the first 70 minutes and then he played like 20 minutes as the center forward. Like, he was right there with us for the last
Okay,
80, from the
let's be
80th
real
minute
on
till
that
the
part.
end. Basically, he was up there trying to score and should have if it wasn't for the handball. So, to me, just an outstanding performance by both of those gentlemen as well as everybody else. But Suggs has plays that will be forever etched into my memory. Sitting there on the sideline or sitting there on the touchline, right there in that corner, and just watching him, just absolute magic over there.
So let's be real about Kalen.
By the way, if Earl's
on
talking, I
Saturday.
cannot hear him.
He was a la Modis, really?
We miss you, Earl.
Well, you can hear him. I mean, Earl, can you hear me?
He just left.
Did he? Okay. Well, Earl will be back.
I think he realized that I could not hear him when I
Okay.
said that, so he took off, and we'll pop back on. But yeah,
So we'll
tremendous second half,
Yeah.
and that's
Quick.
what I'm trying to focus on so that I don't get angry.
Yeah, so we'll kind of vamp for just a second. So, folks, if you are here with us on YouTube, feel free to pop in the chat. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Saturday night, and we'll get you guys here on the show. And Earl is back. There he is.
Yeah. So let's go back to what Jacob was saying about Kalen. Kalen definitely had a good push for man of the match. Jacob said he was playing center forward. He, at that same time, I do believe he was also playing center back at the same time. I think we still had 4 in the back, and he was just playing up top, free roaming it.
Could be, and that's one of the things about this 3-5-2 that Troy likes to employ is you've got a lot of flexibility, and of course, being a man down, you have to make a massive change at that point. And Troy talked about it. He going down a man, last week. He tried to do a 4-4-1, and it didn't really work out at first, and he made another adjustment, and so playing with 10 men is definitely a huge adjustment. You've got to not only cover more ground defensively, but you still have to find ways to try to get those goals, try to keep the offense going when you are trying to come back and salvage that point. So I got to ask, Andrew, a few minutes ago, you mentioned how well dressed Daniel Bruce is. I had the chance to sit down with him in that inaugural season, and like he's a fantastic person. Love talking to him.
Yeah.
If you watched in that second half, you saw Troy kind of going at Coach Martin for Loudon. Is there any chance you think that Troy was barking at him because he was so underdressed for the occasion?
I don't know, but I took a couple glances from my eagle eye perch up top. I was literally in the top seat, like before you get to the camera wells or whatever up there. I think they're disabled seating. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, right up top. And I saw Ryan Martin had a lawn chair, and I thought, wow, this man is so relaxed. And I think he finally got up out of it after like the 70th minute when his players started falling down. But yeah, what was he wearing? I don't remember.
It's right there by his, like a button-down flannel shirt and a ball cap.
Help me out.
button-down flannel, untucked, khakis, and then a flat brim hat. And the only thing I could think of
Like a
was
baseball cap?
yeah, like to me he looked like a wannabe Tony Hawk. Like he's around the same
Okay,
age as Tony Hawk,
I'm gonna
and
dress that way tomorrow, so I cannot. I'm gonna have to step away because I'm dressing like that tomorrow in honor of this.
like he popped up on
Yeah.
the screen, and I was sitting there going, "Who's that?" And then it said Sean Martin, Loudon coach for whatever, however many years, and I was like, "That's the coach. That's how the coach is dressed right now. It's
Yeah.
wrinkled. It was a wrinkled button up, untucked. Like it was hilarious to me.
Yeah, Ben Olsen is somewhere right now sobbing into his, his bourbon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was sharp, But yeah, I don't know. He just put on. He thought, it was his Memorial Day suburban dad sort of barbecue, but it was actually game day. Yeah.
It actually reminded me of something that I would wear like when I was in high school. There's the
Yeah.
jeans, the button-down shirt, untucked, the ball cap. I mean, I'm not a fan of the flat brim, but it was definitely like something that reminded me of like 20 years ago.
But he looked 40 and
Yeah.
was wearing that. Not
No.
in high school.
Yeah.
Like it was just I didn't understand it.
And so
That's the suburban dad barbecue get up. I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember that. I just distinctly remember him lounging in his fold up chair while Troy is like, screaming at the top of his lungs. So I don't know. It worked at least for one match, but maybe there's a reason they were winless before they came. I'm not
Yeah.
superstitious by any means, but maybe he hadn't changed out of his clothes till he got a win. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, speaking of winless teams, New Mexico United's next opponent is, of course, Real Salt Lake. Monarchs are sitting on 2 points so far this season. They've scored 3 goals through 4 matches. They opened up their season with a 2-2 draw against San Antonio, and then picked up a draw 2 weeks ago on the 21st against Austin Bold FC. So two, I guess you would say, decent showings there against some of the more at least we're expecting them to be competitive sides within this division. What are we looking for this weekend? I mean, if Austin's yellow card is a red card, I should say, is rescinded, I assume we're all expecting him to be back in the lineup. I'm sure we're all expecting Tenari to be back in the 11. Who do you think Troy throws? Well, sorry, probably not going to be Troy. It's going to be Zach. Who do you think Zach puts in the 11 this week?
Real quick.
I hope you put someone in that's gonna bury the Monarch's dick in the dirt.
Was an odd metaphor, Earl. Very odd.
I
think it
don't
works.
think I've ever heard it put quite that way before, but okay.
I want to touch on one more thing real quick.
Sure.
Just real quick. Nobody has to even respond. But right up there with Fuck Phoenix could be the goalkeeper for Loudon, because that guy was a grade A douchebag. But I'll leave it at that, and then we can talk about Real Monarchs. I just saw him cheering after the match on the highlight package a minute ago, and it made me remember that I really did not like him.
And I think that's acceptable. You don't want to ever want to be happy for an opposing team keeper, so no one's going to blame you there.
No, but he was like worse than
Wait,
Ketterer, in my opinion.
You gave him a grade A?
Who?
I'm impressed. I would have given like the keeper for the fucking Loudon people.
Who
You
gave
gave
him
the
an A?
keeper. You gave him a grade A douchebag?
Yeah, because that's like the worst
Yeah,
douchebag.
No, it's like grade F, like pasteurized
Semantics.
grade.
Anyways,
Anyways, back to what Seth was saying. I am hoping, like I said a while ago, that Jacob and his boomerness did not understand that Zach Prince. Like I said, I'm hoping that Zach Prince puts in every goal scorer that we've ever signed since Ilya Illich came in, and who cares about a back line? Let's just go score fucking goals, and once again, bury the Monarch's dick in the dirt.
I want to see this exact same lineup. we talked about it right before the match started, how I was really excited to see how Dev and Brown and Moreno all did, or how they did with all three of them being on the pitch at the same time, and we didn't get to see it. So I want to see basically the same exact lineup, uh, assuming Austin comes back. And if Austin doesn't come back, then you just put Rashid or Schmidt back there and keep the same formation and the same lineup minus Yearwood. If he doesn't, if he unless he's reinstated, then bring Yearwood back in there and have the exact same lineup. I love Tenari, but I'm just curious to see how this lineup works. And I think that against a team like Real Monarchs, it could be something that it could be a lineup that, as our once, could bury the Real Monarchs' dick in the dirt. That just sounds weird to say. Why did you say that? I don't understand.
It's artistic license, man.
Fair.
I tried to get that printed in the journal once long ago, but my editor scrapped it.
The dick in the dirt.
For reasons unknown to this day. I couldn't believe it, but here we are. I just want to see Dan and Bruce start on the right wing.
I don't think anyone's going to fight you on that.
Yeah, I just think the more time he gets to start, he's not Christian Pulisic-esque super sub. Like give him the minutes, and every performance I think will just continue. And it's still a team that still hasn't really gelled fully. It's still early in the season. I think we're going to write off Loudon as just a freak fluke that we're probably not going to forget anytime soon. But will it matter in like September or October? I hope not. I don't think so. The roster's just too stacked to be coming down to the wire like San Diego last year, for example.
Yeah,
And I'll be happy if we don't have JPG.
We all know, Earl. We all know.
John Paul Jones.
Yeah, exactly. But what Andrew said about it not mattering later, I fully agree, because I think we make the playoffs regardless of that win or loss, whatever you want to. The win that felt like, or the loss that felt like a win. But I think that the only way it's going to matter is if we lose out on the second position in our group because of that match, then I'm going to be pretty disappointed in how it played out, because I want that home playoff match. I want somebody to have to come here for at least one match, and mainly for the fans' sake, just to give the fans a playoff game, and to give the players a home playoff game after what we experienced last year. So hopefully we can just turn the burners on and destroy some people here. I talked about being on a 5-game win streak going against San Antonio, and that got ruined because of this. But I think there's still a chance that we can rattle off 4 or 5 in a row a couple times, or more even, and just leave everybody in our dust, which would be nice.
Yeah, I think Real is a good matchup for us coming up this week, especially coming off of this. I guess I don't want to say devastating or heartbreaking, because it really wasn't. It's not like they scored like a last minute goal to beat us or anything like that. But off of this frustrating loss, there you go. I think that's the perfect word for that. It's we're going up to Salt Lake, the play club that hasn't won yet this season. They're not particularly playing well. I mean, they've been blanked twice so far, and Hamas and Olave is in its second season. And again, this is again an MLS2 team that's got a lot of turnover from last season. One name that stood out to me is Noah Powder, who was there last year. Pretty good defender, but I think I don't see it right now from RSL. I don't know where their goals are going to come from. I don't know really who their danger players are. I mean, have any of you had a chance to take a look at them, watching their matches so far this year?
I haven't seen any of their matches, but if you want just a sort of early season barometer of where they compare to, New Mexico, they played Austin twice, drew them 1-1 and lost 2-0. And Austin, I don't think is a particularly great team, and we smashed them to bits 3-1. So that's been the only opponent that they've shared. So that bodes well for me. I haven't seen any of their matches now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that unless Real Salt Lake actually sends down some players, then if it's just the lineup that we've seen for the most part, their first four matches, it's very similar to what they looked like last year. And last year, we were not kind to them. So I I hesitate to guarantee a win because had you asked me a week ago, I would have guaranteed a win. In fact, Adam Davis from Two Out Adams pretty much admitted that he was expecting to lose against us, and that didn't happen for reasons that we know. So I'll put it this way: aside from an absolutely horrific refereed match, if we don't win, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I'm looking at their rosters. I mean, yeah, Noah Powder's back, Milana Lasky's back. What's his name? Keeper Slayton is back. But outside of that, I mean, they've lost so many players from last year. Kyle Coffey is gone. Michael Chang is gone. Jack Blake is gone. And I mean, while that's to be expected from these two sides, you would hope that they're bringing in comparable talent or talent that they can build up to the level of those players. Because we talk about those names, Michael Chang and Jack Blake. Those guys were very good for them over the past two seasons, and I don't know where those replacement goals, those replacement players, are really going to come from yet. I haven't seen anyone stand out in what I have seen, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Saturday. How does the club come out? How do they perform? Andrew, do you think that Zach Prince is able to get these guys to come out and elevate their game a little bit, or do you think that this past Saturday's match is going to be enough motivation for them?
Yeah, I don't think it matters really so much
Well,
who the
we heard
coach
it at the
is.
presser. I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be enough motivation. Troy was saying that Sergio was.
Oh,
What is going on?
I think Earl might have a little bit of delay again.
Yeah, I think Earl has a large delay.
No?
damn.
No, it's Jacob's internet.
I had nothing to do with that, Earl.
All right, so gentlemen,
Yeah, next week. Let's see, or this week actually, Friday. So yeah, I don't really think that it matters so much who's on the sideline because they're going to be, they know Troy's system for the most part. Even the newer players, have been signed now for, 4 or 5 months since the beginning of the year. So will it matter too much who's on the sideline? No, I don't think so. And they're going to have a chip on their shoulder for sure. And one thing to note too, also, is one last thing. So in the Western Conference, there's only 2 clubs that have a worse goal differential than the Monarchs. It's Las Vegas and San Diego. 4 losses apiece. San Diego just won their last goal. I feel pretty confident that having a different face on the sideline is not going to be a distraction or something that lowers the tempo.
Like I was saying, and I'm hoping the delay caught up. I don't think that.
Yeah, I
they
really
need-
think that we're gonna.
I
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Earl.
figured.
I'm just
I
kidding. Earl.
figured.
I'm just kidding,
Look
Earl.
at this.
I'm just
Listen
kidding.
to this guy, modern day comedian.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like I was saying, I don't think there's much motivation that needs to be given out or convinced to. There's not much convincing that's needed. We heard Troy say it himself that Sergio is ready to hop up and play another 90. Now, whether Sergio could actually hop up and play another 90 is needs to be seen, I guess. But I don't think there's much convincing that needs to be issued out this week.
All right. So again, we don't know too much about RSL yet. We're going to see them for the first time this weekend. Let's go around the horn. Let's get some match predictions. Andrew, since you're our guest this week, we'll start with you.
No red cards. I think they're going to be a little more careful this go around, which I don't know what that means. Like stay 5 feet away from every player, like do the social distancing bit, so they make absolutely sure that they don't get, unnecessary, egregious red cards for what I think still is no contact from, Yearwood. I know Austin's girlfriend, and she was incensed on Twitter and just wanted to blow up the entire league after that call. But yeah, no red cards. I think they're going to play more carefully, but with, more verve, more intensity, if that makes sense. So not looking for a repeat of this week, just in case. I don't know who the ref is going to be this week, but score predictions, I'll go with a solid 3-0.
3-0. All right. Earl.
You see, I don't have much faith in Tambakis holding a clean sheet. 3-1.
Jesus. Earl, you gotta stop with the Tambakis hate. It's like Juan Pablo Guzman,
No.
but at least Juan Pablo Guzman.
Listen, hold on.
Oh my god.
So it's not that I hate Tambakis. Tambakis is really, really good. I want to see him hold a clean sheet for at least 1 or 2 games. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not going to count on it yet.
None of them have been his
3-1.
fault. Like you can't look at any of the goals.
3-1.
You can't look at any of the goals that he's
3.
given up and be like, "Oh,
1.
Tambakis should have saved that."
2.
No. Oh my gosh, Earl,
3.
I hate you
Say
sometimes.
this
I hate
again.
you so much.
Okay, I'd like to point one small detail out. Okay, Tambakis was the first ever signing for perhaps the biggest powerhouse team in the history of soccer in the United States.
Get this guy out of here.
Which
Get this
we
guy
all
out of here.
know
Get him
is
out of
Atlanta
here.
United Football Club. Everyone knows that. Who's anyone? Okay, who's the first ever signing, and look where they are now. Okay.
Once
There you
again,
go. They lost them.
3-1. I've had really, really good luck with this 3-1 call, so I'm calling 3-1. Oh my god, this
Shit, I
guy.
didn't mean it, man. Come back to me.
Alex gonna kill you when laundry happens.
Seth, I need your score prediction.
My
gonna
score
go last
prediction:
here.
RSL. RSL's got a pretty porous defensive back line right now. I feel like no matter who we've got up there is going to probably outclass them a little bit, and they don't have the star power that they have in past years. So I'm going to go 2-0.
You guys already know mine.
I think we all know Jacobs. I'm gonna call Jacobs before it happens.
Yeah, call it. Call it.
4-0.
That's it. That's on the money. It's going to happen, guys. There's a 4-0 game coming. And I am convinced it would have been Loudon if not for the stupid red card. So I'm going to stick with that because it's against another terrible team, at least from what we've seen so far. Seth already mentioned it. They lost any real contributor other than Noah Powder, basically. Jack Blake, who's been like their stalwart for the last several years, left. And so I don't see us performing worse than we did against them last year. In fact, I feel like we're better than we were last year and they're worse. So you take the 2-0, 2-1 score lines from last year and you take one away because they got worse and you add $2 and because we got better and you're looking at 4-0. And it's going to happen. I'm going to speak this thing into existence at some point this season. And I can't think of a better night for it to happen than a night that I can't watch because I'll be on a plane going to Missouri. So that's what's going to happen. That's how I know it's going to happen, is because I won't be able to watch it.
So there you go. That's going to be the curse lifted. Jacob not watching.
Mhm.
All right, I think that's gonna just about do it for us here tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Andrew, where can people find you? Where can they follow your work? And how can people get in touch with you if they feel so inclined?
Please do not even look at me, for I do not exist. Do not perceive me in any way. But if you want to, I'm on Twitter all the time. Don't really do any other social media platform. Gunn writes. AGUNN writes with a pen.
All right, there you guys. Andrew Gunn, a friend of the show, someone we've known for a couple years now. Andrew, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you being here, and we'd love to have you back again sometime. And one quick note before Jacob gets us out of here. Next week we will have another special guest. We will have everyone's favorite San Antonio FC commentator, Harry at Ramacall on Twitter. Everyone should know him. So be here for that next week. Can't wait to talk to him ahead of the first time we've seen San Antonio since the 2019 season. So that's going to do it for us. Jacob, get us out of here.
Yeah, so if you're gonna have to bust your butt to get that thing edited and out, because we play them the very next day. So
Yes, we do.
Looking forward to that. As Seth mentioned, Andrew, it was a pleasure having new faces on, so I don't have to just listen to Earl talk. Is always nice. And to anybody that was watching, I was
To be
watching,
fair, to everyone listening to Jacob, he is the only one that ever talks. If you look at the YouTube feed right now, he is literally the only comment.
This is fair. This is fair. I do talk quite a bit on this show, but I see, we had up to 8 people watching and nobody commented. So don't be shy, people. Hop in the chat. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you tweeted the ref that got you banned from his Twitter, and we're interested in that kind of stuff. So every Tuesday, I had to pause for dramatic effect. I saw all 3 of your guys' faces go. What just happened? Did he freeze? I don't understand. No, but I just wanted to see what happened. Every Tuesday, 9:30 on YouTube. You can catch the audio podcast. In some cases, 2 days later. In some cases, 1 day later. But check it out. Subscribe. Hit the bell, the little bell on YouTube. That's what the boomers say, as Earl likes to say. And follow us on social media, Somos Mas NM on all platforms. And until next week, guys, Somos News.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate each and every one of you here on the YouTube channel. As always, guys, if you're in the chat with us, if you're watching us live, drop your comments and questions in the chat. We've seen guys like Aaron Reeder. We've seen
Tyler Ortega.
Tyler Ortega. Yeah, I was going to say Tyler. I was trying to think of the other name from last week.
Black Donnie.
Black Donnie. That's right. Guys, if you're here, drop your stuff in the chat. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We love to interact with you guys. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. And again, big thank you to Andrew Gunn